Ever since I can remember, I think since I was a child, I struggled with the idea of suffering and pain. Not that only I found things uncomfortable when there were problems in my life. I also had real difficulties understanding and accepting the problems in other people's lives. I just thought it would be so much nicer if things were more in harmony. Over time, I kind of accept that we have times of suffering, of struggles, that we have accidents, and I came up to accept the common ways of explaining this. This is nature. It just happens. This is life. When I learned Reiki, it puzzled me even more. I realized that Reiki could really help people, and it would often reduce their symptoms. But also people started to understand that there may be some meaning in the problems they were going through, in their physical, their mental suffering. They started to change their life often. They looked at life in different ways, and often they accepted these struggles as a turning point. For me, that was just incredible to see that I suddenly had a tool for myself and for other people to help with difficulties. But if I'm honest, I still couldn't really accept why we suffer at all. And not everybody has these tools. And even if we have these tools, we still have a certain degree of suffering. We still have accidents. We still have relationship problems. We look at the world, we look at the inequality, we look at political decisions that are absolutely disastrous for people. But we also look at hunger, we look at wars, and we look at floodings, we look at hurricanes, we look at drought. There is just suffering everywhere. And I think the answer that most people have to come to accept for themselves is that this is life. It's just part of life. It's nature. When COVID came, I was looking at all these questions again, and I was wondering what this actually meant, whether this could be a big turning point for us as humankind to change, to look at things in different ways, maybe to even get closer together and create a better society. But still, there is again a lot of suffering. And over the course of this time, indeed through the own suffering that I experienced, the problems I went through during this time, at some stage I had a moment where the universe gave me a different answer. I think I primarily was asking, why does the world have COVID? What is COVID all about? But then it extended into, why does the world suffer at all? And I had a time when step by step, over a number of weeks, I was very simply told why everything is as it is. And the answer basically to my initial question, why does the world have COVID, was an answer to why does the world have any problem whatsoever. And it's just extraordinary. It really is an answer to every single problem, to every single question I've ever had, and I believe to every single question in the world. I was simply told the structure of the universe. And when we start to understand that, and when we start to understand our place and our role in this, we start not only to understand, but we can start making changes. The universe is a structure of 7 levels, and in many spiritual traditions, philosophical traditions, indeed in energy modalities, it's often used this model. So there are 7 levels of the universe, and the first is the starting point, the point of creation. Whether we call that the origin, the source, God, the source of everything. Whether we call it the creator or the creative force, the source of everything, all that is, God, or indeed, as we often do when we use Reiki and we feel things getting brighter, we just use the term light. So this is the starting point of everything. We can also call it eternity, because this does not have a beginning and an end. It is all that is. And this started the creation. And the creation is a thought, is a way to experience things. And there needed to be some structure, an idea behind. And this is, interestingly, the 6th level. It is the level where it all starts. It's, one could say, the matrix or the DNA, the thought, the structure, the laws governing the universe. So it's still quite abstract, but this is basically the outer way how everything happens, and indeed the structure of how we experience things. It's also the idea of what we want to experience. Because we want to experience things from different angles. If we are all that is, if there only is all that is, then everything is perfect. Everything is as it is. So in order to experience, to experiment, to see things from different viewpoints, we need to create a structure. We need to create a beginning and an end. We need to create time. We create space. So all this is on the 6th level, the laws of the universe. And then there is the 5th level. This is where the actual experience starts. This is where things are played out. And this is where things start with energy. Because energy is the way to experience things. Energy is the setup of the universe. Everything moves on different vibrational levels. And this is how things can be experienced. So it may be a bit weird to look at energy in this way, because energy suddenly is not what we are taught to think, that everything is energy. Everything within this creation is energy, because that's the way how we experience things. And on the 5th level, there are the big energetic forces, the big forces of experience. These are essentially archetypes. In many religious traditions, they are called archangels. That is nothing else but archetypes, archetypical forms of experience. There is the healer, there is the explorer, there is the warrior, there is the lover. So all these kind of big archetypes are there, and they want to experience things in slightly different ways. So suddenly we have energetic forces of differing concepts. And this goes right through the entire structure of the universe. Then we start fine-tuning things and exploring this in more individual ways. So there is the 4th level, which we often call the spirit world. And this is the level where we as human beings come from, jump into an incarnation, and go back to after our life here finishes. So this is where we already form relationships and connections. This is where we already have families, soul families. This is where we can experience things and where we have a huge degree of individuality. And then life in the physical shape starts on the third level, our level. This is the level of form, where we suddenly have a body, where we are particularly limited, because of course this gives us a physical limitation. We have got thoughts, we have got a memory, and sometimes the memory fails us and we struggle with all that. So this is our experience here. And then we play certain rules. In one life we are a man, in another life we are a woman, in one life we live in Africa, in another life we live in America. All these kind of things, these different viewpoints, different traditions. This is all a way to experience and see things in different ways. And then, of course, there are two more levels. There is the second level, which is nature, which is the start of organic life. Water, plants, nature, everything that helps us to live in a body. And the first level is the physical structure of form. It's the earth, it's rocks. In everything is the creator, because nothing happens outside. So the experience on every single level is always there for everybody. We experience things individually, but from a collective point of consciousness. From the beginning of everything, we also look at things simultaneously from different angles. This is the structure of the world. On the third level, interestingly, I was told it's not just us as human beings, but it's also animals with the same rights, experiencing things in an animal shape. So coming back to the original question, why is everything as it is? It is because we want to experience it. It is because we created the entire setup to look at things from different angles, to have the thrill. So it's a bit like, yes, we can play here a romantic comedy and have a beautiful love story, but we can also play a horror movie because it's only an experience. And we have done that for a very, very long time, for millennia. The question is whether we really still like that experience. Do we want the accidents still? Do we want the earthquakes? Do we want the violence? Do we want the suffering? That is the big question. It is all an experience. All of that has a beginning and an end. But the big question is, do we want to continue with that? In one incarnation after the other, on this planet, on another planet, wherever, going on and on and on, experiencing suffering. We have created something really interesting along this concept. We have built different kind of energy. When we created something difficult, something negative, when we harmed somebody, we changed energy. This is energy theory. Energy always changes and adapts. And this is actually what we call karma. The fact that we have created negativity. So if we want to change things, we need to roll back that negativity. And when we need to work on a more positive, on a more loving experience. By living from the heart and by experiencing and accepting that we are all together, we can do that. But we actually need to go much deeper. If we decide we had enough of the suffering, we need to change that we want to experience that. So we need to go back to the 6th level, the level of the idea of this universe. And we need to reset. We need to press the button and say, we've had enough of the suffering. This was an interesting experience. It gave us thrills, it gave us shivers, it gave us all sorts of things to remember, but really now we've had enough. We want to live more positively. And I actually believe it's possible to start a process of collective waking up and changing that experience by coming together with a critical mass of people. If you reach a certain percentage of people who say, no, we don't want that anymore. We don't want to inflict more and more pain on everybody and ourselves just because we want to experience it. We had enough of that experience. We want to experience love. Love, oneness, harmony. We want to feel what it is that we are all actually connected to the same source and to each other. We don't want rivalry anymore. We don't want to know anymore who's the best. We want to know that we are all one. And I think we can do that. And this is the answer I've been given. We can change our lives. We can live from a point of love. And we can bring that into the world. And step by step, by raising our vibrations, we'll reach more and more people, and we can change the collective experience. We can change the matrix of the world. This is not a Hollywood science fiction movie. This is reality. And we can do that by realizing who we really are, by living from our heart. This is what the Reiki Revolution is all about. To give us tools and everyday momentum and inspiration to carry on and to achieve this together.